And now there goes the fun part of the interview, just waiting for Skype to tell me, hey, you're recording now.
That's always a blast, yeah.
Yes, and as it takes about 7 or 8 seconds, but still, Skype.
Yes, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. Today, I am joined with a very proggy guest, as I am joined with Eric of Autocatalytica. No, it's not a car thing. It's actually a progressive metal band from the GTA. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Now, I think you already know what my first question is going to be.
But I'll make you ask it anyways.
There we go. What inspired the band to decide on the name Autocatalytica?
Basically, I was still like kind of on the tail end of my edgy teenage years. It was like I was like 18, 19, and I was looking for a new band name. I was reading some book on Gestalt therapy or something, and I came across the word autocatalytic, which means a reaction that is basically the catalyst for the reaction is the main element itself. And so I don't know much about science, but that maybe I thought that was a cool idea. Basically, I took that and reinterpreted it as it means a self-sustaining entity of creation. So that's more or less the idea behind the word there.
Damn. I wasn't expecting there to be so much science behind it. Wow.
It's very shoddily interpreted science, but there is science there.
Yes, this is a prog band.
Yeah.
There's science involved.
If there was any doubt, yeah, there's definitely.
Now, you're joining us today because we're here to talk about your brand new album, your debut release, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Not a debut.
No. Ooh.
That's okay. Sorry. That's all right.
But we're here to talk about the brand new album, Power Clashing Maximalism, which came out on October 16th of this year. The album is just under 40 minutes. So tell me about what it was like to write this album.
It was it kind of got spread out over a long time. Basically, after I moved back to Canada from the States in like 2015, didn't really know if I was going to make another AutoCAD record, what was going to happen there. Basically, I kind of had a bunch of things kicking around. I bought an 8-string guitar because I was living at my parents' house and had extra money. So I was like, all right, this is the only time I'm ever going to have extra money. So let's buy a guitar. And I was like, well, I gotta write some more metal songs if I bought an 8-string. It just doesn't make any sense to not do that. So yeah, I basically started playing with a new drummer. This guy Neilroy was an old friend of mine. And we basically we just wrote songs until his visa ran out and he had to move back to India. That was like how we decided how we could get all these songs on the record. It was like, all right, race against deportation, let's go. And so that's how the record came out.
That is probably one of the best album writing stories I've ever heard.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So has your drummer come back to Canada, or are we still waiting for him to return?
Oh no, he's gone. I don't know if he's ever coming back.
Oh.
I'd like him to come back, but at this point, I don't know, man. He could come back, might not. We'll see.
That is too fun. Sorry about her.
We got a cat.
Yes. So is there an open position now for a drummer in Autocatalytica?
Basically, yeah. I mean, right now, live music has an uncertain future, to say the least. I would definitely. I do think I want to do another record at some point, but yeah, I'm gonna need a different drummer. Whether or not it's one drummer or multiple drummers, I'm not sure. But yeah, at some point I would like to do another record, so that would be cool.
Awesome. Now, for Power Clashing Maximalism, what was the main inspiration to write this album, besides your drummer being deported?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it was just kind of a natural outgrowth of all the other metal stuff that I've wanted. There's always, I'm always going to have riffs kicking around. I'm always going to have something that I want to say musically. I think another huge thing for this record was I wanted to experiment with working with a lot of different collaborators. So on previous records, I'd done, I'd written almost all the guitar and done all the vocals myself, done all the mixing, just, kind of taken on the lion's share of everything. And this one, I was like, that shit almost killed me. Like, I need to not be responsible for absolutely everything. So I think, things can be better when I'm not, the be all end all of the whole record. So yeah, that was that was a big inspiration. It was just like, how many other people can I get involved in this? How many different voices and different minds can I get on the project? So that was definitely a driving force.
Awesome. Now, for you personally, what really inspired you to create this prog band in the middle of Toronto?
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess I've always been really, really into prog as far as, I mean, like, I got into metal when I was like 11 or something. So it's just been like, I've always wanted things to be more diverse. And I happened upon that stuff when I was super young. It's always been extra interesting to me. Like, I've always felt like the heavy parts are heavier when there's something light to juxtapose it with. So if there's, like a soft section, I'm like, okay, the next heavy section hits really, really hard. That's how I always felt. So that, that kind of generally leads to prog. And I went to jazz school, so like I'm gonna end up putting a bunch of jazz in there. It's gonna happen. It's basically in my blood now. So yeah.
No, I do have to say I have been able to listen to parts of the album. Sadly not all of it. I apologize, but I have been listening to parts of it, and I think it sounds very good. It's a really good album, very solid. But the one thing that really messes with my mind is that album artwork. Yeah. What got you or the band to kind of agree on this set artwork?
Basically, my girlfriend, she did the previous album's artwork, which is similar. Like, her stuff is always just kind of like this big clusterfuck of a bunch of psychedelic insanity. And she, like, the last one she did, it took like 5 months for her to do it, which is fair because it's amazing. And I was coming up to this one, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do something different for the artwork. And then I was looking at hers, and I was just like, but it's so good. Like, I have to do this, but I don't have 5 months. So I basically just, like, got her to scan a bunch of her other artwork, like, put it all into Photoshop, and then just melded it together into this, like, one monstrosity. So, yeah, that's what you see for the artwork.
Damn, and boy, has that turned out. If only Spotify would let me zoom in on the image again, like they did back in before the 2020s.
Yes, the before time.
Before time, yes. No, for you personally, what song off of the brand new album did you find was the most difficult, either writing or recording or just figuring it out?
That's a good question. Probably the third track, Trash Serum. That one, I feel like I tried to go the most like opposite directions throughout the course of the song. So like making that work in a way that made sense for the arrangement was definitely a huge challenge. And like I got most of the way there, I think, but I'm never going to be 100% happy with all of it. But when you try to do so many things at once, it's natural to have a difficulty putting them together.
Fair enough. Now, I'd be probably remorse to ask this. I know you're probably sick of hearing it from other interviewers, but of course we're in a pandemic, and sadly you had to release, and you chose to release this album during a time where it's kind of hard to promote yourselves live and all that fun stuff. What made you still want to go through with releasing this album this year?
I mean, honestly, we're kind of in a unique situation because I honestly didn't have any plans to do a live band for this anyways. So, like, this was like I'm the only person who has that answer to the question, basically. So, So like, yeah, it's not often that we have just recording projects in our prog metal space, but yeah, that was kind of always the plan. So for me, not much changed. I have another band that I had like 10 auditions for new members lined up the week that lockdown started in March.
Oh
So
no.
all that got, put off the side. It's not like I wasn't affected by the live music stuff, but for this record, yeah, I was always planning to just kind of like have it as a little recording thing.
Okay, now Autocatalytica does bring a huge difference to that Toronto scene because Toronto is so huge with so many different bands, whether they be thrash, death, black, or doom. I don't know. But prog really sticks out there because you don't really see a whole lot of prog bands coming from the independent scene. For you, if down the line, if Autocatalytica does start to become a live band, do you think that's going to be an advantage for you or kind of a disadvantage?
Depends. I think I can kind of just speak to what our experience was like playing as a live band in New York, and it was interesting because as a prog band, you kind of don't have a home anywhere. Like you said, like there's like more traditional thrash bills or like hardcore bills or like even doom metal bills where it's like, okay, yeah, like all of these bands kind of make sense together, but prog is this weird kind of like ugly duck on the side. It's just kind of like, yeah, there's definitely enough prog bands, but is there enough to fill like a bill every weekend? Like not necessarily, and even then they might not make sense together. So we kind of at that point we like basically just had our own little group of weirdos that were not all necessarily metal, but they were all strange enough that it kind of made sense to play music together. So I think if we were to become a live band again, I would hope that we'd achieve something like that. Would be cool.
Awesome. Now, brain fart.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. So you keep mentioning you once were part of the New York metal scene, and now you've come back home to Toronto. Is the hometown?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm from Oakville originally, but Toronto.
Oh,
Toronto to
okay.
So, yeah.
So for you, musically, what was it like to transition back to the Canadian scene from a big scene in New York?
It was interesting. I mean, I definitely I lost a lot of connections because I had like most of my network was in New York, but there's like in New York it's like to be a popular show on a night of the week, you have to be the absolute coolest thing happening that night, which is pretty hard in a city like New York City. So I felt like even if I had friends who would want to come to my show, they'd be like, oh, well, this other crazy party came up. And I'd be like, you know what? I can't blame you. That sounds like fun too. I might do that. Whereas Toronto, it doesn't seem like there's quite as much competition. Like it has more of a small town vibe. And it seems like a lot more people are more willing to go out to shows when that was a thing, obviously pre-2020. But yeah, that's the vibe I've got from here. It's a little bit more scene focused as opposed to New York just being this like crazy, chaotic international city. That's just like it doesn't feel like there's like a hometown scene there. It's just insanity.
Yeah. For you personally, what was the one thing you learned from being in that New York City metal scene?
I think that just like being like extremely authentic is that word has a lot of baggage with it, but you got to make yourself happy at the end of the day, and just making music that you want to hear is going to get more people hearing you than you trying to cater to some kind of audience. And there's always going to be not necessarily a huge group of people, but there's going to be weirdos out there that like your stuff, especially if you are authentic with it. So that's probably something that's
Awesome. Now, Eric, I know you're a busy man. You got a lot of things to do, so I'm going to ask you one last question that we always ask first-time guests on Thrashers Paradise. We call it the poser question to ensure we're not just talking to some fellow gamer we met on Animal Crossing.
Beautiful.
I hope I was somewhat accurate to assume that you played Nintendo games.
You know what? I actually have never owned a Nintendo system.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy? I've been looking at getting a Switch, but I've literally never. I was PlayStation all the way from the beginning. So yeah.
That's so funny because I was actually talking about yesterday buying a Switch for myself too.
Yes. I can't get a PS5, so.
Yeah. No, so the question is kind of simple, kind of hard. I don't know. It all depends on your history of the metal scene. But who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
I mean, trick question. Lemmy is God.
Yes.
Did I pass? Did I pass the Animal Crossing test?
I wouldn't know. I've never played Animal Crossing before.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. But no, Eric, thank you so much for taking time out of your, I'm assuming, very busy schedule to come on here to Thrashers Paradise on this, well, here in Hamilton, pretty depressing Monday afternoon.
Also depressing in Toronto, yes.
Okay, perfect. But, ow, hair, Jesus. Thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else you'd like to make the people aware of with Autocatalytica?
I think that's it. Just listen to the music if you got a minute. That's all I want.
Excellent. And until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you.
To